Street girl finds an abandoned baby in a dumpster and rushes him to the hospital. When he sees the baby, the doctor is horrified to learn that the baby was abandoned because he was disabled. Under the faint glow of a street lamp, Lena, a 12-year-old girl with torn sneakers and a patched hoodie, sifted through the trash outside a bustling cafe in São Paulo. Her stomach growled with the raw insistence of hunger, but it was the faint, muffled cry from behind the dumpsters that stopped her. Startled, she froze, straining her ears. It came again, soft, plaintive, unmistakably a baby's wail. Heart-pounding, Lena pushed aside a pile of torn boxes and rotting food until she found the source. A tiny infant wrapped in a grimy towel, abandoned amidst the refuse. Her breath caught. "Who would leave a baby here?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Lena hesitated only for a moment before scooping up the baby, cradling its frail, trembling body against her chest. It was cold, far too cold for comfort. The baby's eyes fluttered open, revealing a startlingly bright pair of mismatched irises. One brown, the other pale blue. The night streets were not forgiving. Lena darted between alleys, clutching the infant as the distant hum of traffic and the occasional echo of laughter painted a contrasting picture of indifference. She knew where she had to go, the public hospital just a few blocks away. Her arrival was chaotic. The sliding glass doors of the emergency entrance whooshed open, and nurses turned their heads in surprise as the girl bolted inside. "Help! Please!" Lena shouted, her voice cracking with desperation. "This baby, I found it in the trash." A nurse, mid-30s with kind but stern eyes, hurried over. "Calm down, Menina. Let me see." Gently, Lena handed over the infant, her fingers reluctant to let go of the fragile warmth. The nurse's expression shifted, her brow furrowing as she inspected the baby. "Dr. Ferreira," she called out. Moments later, a tall, middle-aged man with graying hair strode over, his lab coat fluttering slightly. His expression of professional detachment faltered when he caught sight of the baby. His lips tightened. "What happened here?" he asked, his tone clipped. I found him," Lena stammered. "In a dumpster, near the cafe." Dr. Ferreira's face darkened as he examined the baby's unusual eyes and noticed the stiff, almost unresponsive movements of its limbs. He pulled back the towel, revealing faint marks on the baby's arms and legs, congenital deformities. "Abandoned," he muttered under his breath. "Why?" Lena asked, her voice trembling. The doctor hesitated. "Not everyone can accept a child born with differences," he finally said, his words heavy with unspoken meaning. The nurse whisked the infant away for urgent care, leaving Lena standing alone in the stark white hallway. Her mind raced with questions she couldn't articulate. She had lived her whole life navigating the edges of society, but even she couldn't fathom discarding someone so small and helpless. A shadow fell across her. Dr. Ferreira stood beside her now, his gaze softening as he asked, "What's your name, Menina?" "Lena. You did a brave thing tonight, Lena." "It didn't feel brave," she murmured. The doctor crouched slightly to meet her eyes. "Courage isn't about feeling brave. It's about doing what's right, even when you're scared." She bit her lip, unsure of how to respond. But the doctor wasn't finished. "This baby, he'll have a difficult life," he said, his voice low. "People will judge him for things he can't control. But because of you, he has a chance now." Lena blinked back tears. "But what happens to him next? Will he be okay?" Dr. Ferreira glanced toward the operating room where the baby had been taken. "That's what we'll work to find out." But the unease in his voice lingered, hinting at complications no one could yet foresee. The sterile hospital air clung heavily around Lena as she sat on a plastic chair in the waiting area. Time seemed to stretch endlessly. The occasional buzz of an intercom or the brisk footsteps of nurses broke the silence, but her thoughts drowned out the noise. The baby's mismatched eyes, so fragile yet piercing, haunted her. She had seen rejection before, in herself, in others who lived on the streets, but this felt sharper, crueler. "Lena?" Dr. Ferreira's voice pulled her back to the present. He stood before her, his expression carefully composed, yet there was a weariness in his eyes. "The baby is stable," he said. "We've cleaned him up, warmed him, and started treating his dehydration." Relief flooded Lena, but it was short-lived. The weight in the doctor's voice hinted at something more. "But," she prompted. Dr. Ferreira sighed, taking the seat beside her. "He was abandoned for a reason, Lena. The baby has a rare condition, arthrogryposis. Causes joint stiffness and limits mobility. He'll need surgeries, therapy, and constant care as he grows." Lena tilted her head. "So? He's still just a baby." The simplicity of her answer caught the doctor off guard. He hesitated, searching for the right words. "Not everyone is prepared for the challenges of raising a child with special needs," he said. Lena frowned. "But why leave him in the trash? Couldn't they, I don't know, take him to someone who'd help?" Her words stung with the innocent logic of a child, and Dr. Ferreira had no good answer. As the early hours of dawn crept in, a social worker arrived. A petite woman with short, curly hair and a warm smile. She introduced herself as Anna. She crouched to Lena's eye level and began speaking in a voice meant to soothe. "Lena, I heard what you did for the baby," Anna said. "That was a very kind and brave thing." Lena's shoulders tensed. Kind words often came with pity or dismissal, and she braced herself. "Do you have anyone we can call? Family, maybe?" Anna's question landed like a punch. Lena shook her head. "No, it's just me." Anna exchanged a glance with Dr. Ferreira. "And where have you been staying?" "Here and there," Lena replied vaguely, avoiding Anna's gaze. The social worker sighed. "Lena, I want to help. But to do that, I need to know how to help you. Have you thought about going to a shelter?" "No." Lena's response was instant, her voice sharp. "They separate kids there. And it's worse than the streets sometimes." The raw fear in her tone silenced Anna for a moment. Dr. Ferreira cleared his throat. "What about the baby? What happens to him now?" Anna softened. "We'll try to locate any family, but if none come forward, he'll go into the care system. Maybe a foster family or an orphanage." The word orphanage made Lena flinch. Her own memories of overcrowded rooms, cold meals, and indifferent caretakers surged back. Hours later, as sunlight poured through the hospital windows, Lena stood outside the infant ward. Through the glass, she could see the baby lying in an incubator, his tiny limbs swaddled in soft blankets. She pressed her hand to the glass. "You're so small," she murmured. "You didn't ask for this. None of us do." Behind her, Anna and Dr. Ferreira observed in silence. "She seems attached," Anna remarked. "She's just a kid herself," Ferreira replied, though his tone lacked conviction. "What can she do?" Anna crossed her arms. "Sometimes kids have more strength than we give them credit for." Later that day, Anna found Lena sitting outside on a bench, staring at the sky. "I'm heading to the shelter now," Anna said gently. "If you come with me, we can make sure you have food, a bed, and a chance to rest." Lena shook her head. "Not without the baby." Anna blinked, startled. "Lena, I know you care about him, but taking care of a baby isn't something you can do alone. He needs medical care, resources, things a shelter or a foster family can provide." Lena turned to face her, her brown eyes blazing. "He needs someone who won't throw him away." The words hung in the air. For a moment, Anna was at a loss. "What if I stay here? At the hospital?" Lena offered. "You can't live here," Anna said softly. Lena clenched her fists. "But he's alone. And I know what that feels like." Anna crouched beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You've already changed his life, Lena. You gave him a chance. That's not something small." Lena's lips trembled. "It's not enough." Night fell, and Lena remained in the hospital courtyard, her mind racing. She didn't have a plan, only a fierce resolve. The baby deserved better than the cold indifference of a system that had failed so many like her. And maybe, just maybe, she could be part of the better he deserved. Lena refused to leave the hospital that night. She found a corner of the emergency waiting room, curling up on a chair as the quiet hum of fluorescent lights filled the space. Her eyes burned from exhaustion, but every time she closed them, the baby's cry echoed in her mind. In the early hours, she awoke to a gentle shake. Dr. Ferreira stood over her, holding a steaming cup of coffee. "You need to eat something," he said, offering her a sandwich from the cafeteria. Lena blinked up at him, surprised by the gesture. "Thanks," she muttered, unwrapping the sandwich and taking a small bite. Dr. Ferreira sat beside her, the weight of the day evident in his posture. "You're stubborn, Menina," he said, his tone somewhere between admiration and exasperation. "I've had to be," Lena replied without looking at him. He studied her for a moment before speaking. "The baby is responding well to treatment. But we can't keep him here forever. He'll be placed in the system soon." Lena's stomach twisted. "You mean sent to an orphanage?" "It's not always like you think," Ferreira said, though his voice lacked conviction. "There are good foster families out there." "But what if he doesn't get one?" she asked, her voice rising. "What if he ends up like me?" Dr. Ferreira didn't have an answer. Instead, he leaned back, rubbing his temples. "You care about him a lot, don't you?" Lena nodded. "He didn't deserve this. He didn't do anything wrong." "Neither did you," Ferreira said quietly. The next morning, Anna returned with a small bag for Lena, a clean change of clothes and some toiletries. "We need to talk, Lena," Anna began, her tone firm but kind. "I can't let you stay here indefinitely. The hospital isn't a place for you to live." "I'm not leaving him," Lena insisted. "You've done so much already," Anna said, kneeling beside her. "But you need to take care of yourself too." Lena's jaw tightened. "I can take care of both of us." Anna hesitated. "Do you know what you're saying? Taking care of a baby is more than just holding him. It's food, diapers, medicine, doctor visits. You're still a kid yourself." Lena stood, her fists clenched. "Then teach me. Help me do it." Anna looked at her, stunned by the determination blazing in her eyes. Later that day, Anna sat with Dr. Ferreira in the staff lounge, her expression troubled. "She's not going to give up," Anna said. "I've seen kids like her before. Once they latch onto something, it's like they're trying to fill a hole inside themselves." "She's been through more than most adults could handle," Ferreira replied. "But this? Raising a child with special needs? It's impossible, is it?" Anna countered. "Maybe she's not ready now, but with the right support," Dr. Ferreira sighed. "Support we don't have the resources to provide." Anna leaned forward. "What if we found another way? She's street smart, resourceful, and she clearly has a heart big enough to love that baby. Maybe that's a start." Days turned into a week. Lena visited the baby whenever she was allowed, sitting by the incubator and watching him sleep. She named him Rafa, short for Raphael, because she thought it sounded strong. "You're going to be okay, Rafa," she whispered one evening. "I promise." But promises were heavy things, and Lena knew she needed a plan. One night, after the hospital grew quiet, Lena wandered outside. The city stretched before her, vast and indifferent. She found a bench under a flickering street lamp and sat, staring at the stars peeking through the smog. "Hey!" She jumped at the voice. Turning, she saw João, a boy a few years older than her, leaning casually against a lamppost. His scruffy hair and mischievous grin were familiar. He was one of the kids who floated between street corners and underpasses, hustling to survive. "What do you want?" Lena asked warily. "I heard about the baby," João said, stepping closer. "People are talking about how you brought him to the hospital." "So?" João shrugged. "It's just different. Most of us wouldn't bother." "Well, I'm not most of you," Lena snapped. João chuckled, but his eyes were serious. "You really care about him, huh?" Lena nodded. João paused, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled bill. "Here, for the kid." Lena stared at the money, stunned. "Why?" "Because someone helped me once," João said simply. "And maybe it's my turn." Lena returned to the hospital with the bill clenched in her hand. It wasn't much, but it was a start. As she slipped back into her corner of the waiting room, an idea began to form. If no one else would fight for Rafa, then she would. For the next few days, Lena's resolve hardened into action. She spent every waking moment near Rafa, feeding him when the nurses allowed and learning from their every move. The more time she spent with him, the more she understood the delicate balance of his care. His tiny body required gentle handling, and his condition demanded attention to detail, a skill Lena quickly developed. But outside the warm incubator, the weight of reality pressed on her. Each conversation with Anna and Dr. Ferreira reminded her that she was racing against a system with little room for exceptions. One afternoon, Anna approached Lena as she sat by Rafa's crib, gently rocking him in her arms. "We've tracked down the baby's mother," Anna said cautiously. Lena froze, her eyes narrowing. "She doesn't want him, does she?" Anna hesitated. "She said she couldn't provide for him. She thought leaving him was his best chance." "That's not an excuse," Lena muttered, clutching Rafa tighter. "She's agreed to terminate her parental rights," Anna continued. "But that means he'll officially become a ward of the state." Lena's chest tightened. "And they'll send him to an orphanage?" Anna nodded reluctantly. "Unless a foster family steps forward. Then I'll be his family," Lena said firmly. Anna crouched beside her. "Lena, it's not that simple. The system doesn't allow children to adopt children. You don't even have a home to bring him to." "But I can learn." Lena's voice cracked, desperation breaking through. Anna placed a hand on her arm. "I know you care about him, but we have to think about what's best for both of you." Lena stared at the baby in her arms, tears pooling in her eyes. "He's the best thing I've ever had." The next day, Anna returned with an offer. "There's a couple interested in fostering Rafa," she said gently. "They're experienced with children who have medical needs." "No," Lena said immediately. "Lena, listen to me," Anna pleaded. "They could give him everything he needs. Things you can't provide right now." "They're strangers," Lena shouted. "How do you know they won't hurt him? Or get tired of him and send him away?" Anna flinched but held her ground. "I know you've been hurt by people before, Lena. But not everyone is like that. Not everyone gives up." Lena shook her head. "I won't let him go." Dr. Ferreira, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. "Anna, why don't we try something different?" Both women turned to him. "What if Lena spends time with the foster couple? Let her see what they're like." Anna frowned. "That's not how this process usually works." "And this isn't a usual case," Ferreira countered. Lena's eyes darted between them, wary but intrigued. 2 days later, Lena met the couple. Julia and Marco were in their 40s, with kind smiles and patient voices. Julia was a pediatric nurse and Marco worked as a physical therapist. They greeted Lena warmly but didn't push, sensing her guardedness. "Hi, Lena," Julia said, kneeling to her eye level. "Dr. Ferreira told us how much you care about Rafa. He's lucky to have you." "I'm not lucky," Lena replied bluntly. "I just know what it's like to be left behind." Julia's smile faltered, but she nodded. "I understand. That's why we want to help. We've taken care of babies like Rafa before, and we'd love to give him a home." Lena crossed her arms. "He already has a home with me." Marco stepped in, his tone calm. "And we're not trying to take that away from him. But maybe we can share. We want what's best for him, too." Lena studied them, searching for cracks in their sincerity. For the next week, Lena spent time with Julia and Marco, watching how they interacted with Rafa. She saw the tenderness in Julia's hands as she changed Rafa's bandages and the gentle encouragement in Marco's voice as he discussed exercises for Rafa's stiff joints. But every night, when she returned to her spot in the hospital waiting room, doubt gnawed at her. She wanted to believe in them, but trust wasn't easy to give, and the idea of losing Rafa felt like losing a piece of herself. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lena found herself back on the bench under the flickering street lamp. João appeared again, this time carrying a plastic bag of snacks. "You look like you're carrying the world on your shoulders," he said, handing her a juice box. Lena accepted it silently. "Still thinking about the baby?" João asked. "I don't know what to do," Lena admitted, her voice small. "What if I let him go, and it's the wrong choice?" João sat beside her, uncharacteristically serious. "Sometimes you gotta let people help you, Lena. Doesn't mean you're weak. It just means you're smart enough to know you can't do it all alone. She looked at him, surprised by the wisdom in his words. Do you think they'll take care of him? She asked hesitantly. João shrugged. Only one way to find out. But you'll still be there for him, right? Lena frowned. What do you mean? He's still your Rafa, João said. No one can take that away. The next morning, Lena approached Ana and Dr. Ferreira. Her hands trembled, but her voice was steady. I'll let them foster Rafa, she said. But I want to visit him. I want to make sure he's okay. Ana smiled, her eyes warm with relief. We can arrange that. Dr. Ferreira placed a hand on Lena's shoulder. You've done something incredible, Lena. You've given Rafa a chance. But as Lena watched Julia and Marco load Rafa into their car later that afternoon, a hollow ache settled in her chest. She had done the right thing. So why did it feel so much like losing? The first week without Rafa was the hardest. Lena found herself wandering aimlessly through the streets of São Paulo, her heart heavy with a mixture of grief and doubt. She lingered outside the hospital some days, staring at the building as if hoping Rafa might still be there. But she wasn't entirely alone. João occasionally appeared, bringing snacks or just sitting with her in silence. And Ana had made good on her promise, arranging weekly visits with Rafa at Julia and Marco's home. When Lena arrived for the first visit, her palms were clammy, her nerves frayed. Julia greeted her warmly at the door, ushering her inside the cozy apartment filled with soft light and the faint smell of lavender. Rafa lay in a bassinet near the window, cooing softly. Go ahead, Julia said gently, stepping aside. Lena hesitated before crossing the room. She bent over the bassinet, her chest tightening as Rafa's mismatched eyes focused on her. Hey, little guy, she whispered, her voice trembling. She reached out, brushing her fingers against his tiny hand. Rafa gripped her finger tightly, and tears welled in her eyes. He remembers you, Julia said from behind her, a soft smile on her face. Lena blinked rapidly, fighting the tears. Of course he does. I'm his family. The visit passed quickly, and by the time Lena left, a quiet sense of relief had replaced some of her fear. Julia and Marco seemed genuine, their care for Rafa evident in every detail. The organized shelves of medical supplies, the soothing music playing in the background, the way they spoke to him with love in their voices. But as Lena walked back to her usual bench under the street lamp, her mind swirled with conflicting emotions. What if he doesn't need me anymore? She whispered to herself. In the weeks that followed, Lena threw herself into finding ways to improve her own life. She reached out to a local community center Ana had recommended, attending free workshops on caregiving and child development. I need to show them I can do this, she told João one evening as they shared a loaf of bread he had scavenged. João smirked. You're serious about this, huh? Lena nodded. Rafa's mine, and I'm going to prove it. At each visit, Lena arrived with something new she had learned. Did you know you can help with joint stiffness by doing little stretches with his hands and feet? She asked Marco during one visit, mimicking the motion she'd practiced on a doll at the workshop. Marco grinned. You're a quick learner. Julia chimed in. It's amazing how much you've picked up. Lena, you really care about him. I have to, Lena said simply. He's my family. But as much as Lena improved her skills and knowledge, the underlying tension remained. She couldn't shake the fear that Julia and Marco might try to adopt Rafa, cutting her out of his life forever. During one visit, as Julia prepared tea in the kitchen, Lena finally voiced her fears to Marco. You're going to keep him, aren't you? She asked, her voice tight. Marco set down the book he'd been reading. Lena, we want what's best for Rafa. That's all. That's not an answer, she shot back, her eyes narrowing. Marco sighed. Lena, we think you're incredible, but we also know how hard this is going to be. Raising a child with special needs, keeping up with medical care, it's a lot for anyone, let alone someone your age. I know it's hard, Lena said fiercely. But I won't give up on him. Marco's gaze softened. I don't think you ever would. That night, Lena sat on the bench under the street lamp, João beside her as usual. I think they want to adopt him, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. João frowned. You don't know that for sure. But what if they do? He was silent for a moment. What are you going to do? Lena stared at the ground, her hands balled into fists. I'm going to fight for him. I don't care how hard it is. The next visit was different. Anna was there, her expression guarded. Lena, she began, Julia and Marco have expressed interest in adopting Rafa. The words hit Lena like a blow. No, she said immediately. Lena, Anna said gently, this could be a good thing for Rafa. They have the resources to give